Welcome to IceTime.TV and an interview I've been waiting 30 years for, a very special interview with the man who started it all. I'm here in the Devil's Club shop with the man, the legend, I suppose, John Lawless.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, John. How are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah, really good.
Before we delve into to all things Devils, I'm sure folks at home would like to know, what are you up to now? What's life like for John Lawless right now?
Oh, it's a bit of a reality check, and I knew that all along when I was involved with the hockey over here, that it was kind of like an escape from reality. So I kind of prepared myself, and I'm just doing a sort of an office job in a logistics company that move specialty freight, and I'm sort of coordinating things in the office, and yeah, it's pretty good.
And we're speaking off camera, family's good, everyone's settled?
Yeah, they're all good. Trista and Phoebe obviously been now in Canada for about 3.5, 4 years, and yeah, everybody's good.
Excellent. Well, I guess we go back to where it all started, but maybe before coming to the UK with Peterborough, how did you get into hockey? Obviously, being a Canadian boy, I guess it was natural, but you know, what was your background before you came to UK shores?
Well, I played minor hockey like I guess every player. That's where they start, and played minor hockey and played rep for the Aurelia teams, and then after the minor hockey, played at Centennial College. And luckily, my assistant coach used to play in Britain. His name was Paul Mitchell, and then he became my agent and got the contacts over in for Britain. And it was a funny thing where I had an offer to go to Nottingham for £50 a week, and or we can take Peterborough would take 2 players for £25 a week, and I didn't really want to go at the top level just to come over here because I knew Nottingham was an established club. Peterborough were just starting off, and I wanted to go with somebody. So I went to Peterborough, and it turned out for the better.
Well, it turned out pretty good because that was an amazing run there you had for a while, going right up to the top division, and of course playing with Shannon Hope, who you later brought to Cardiff. They were good times in the east of England. Yeah,
they were. We started again off in the bottom division, and in I guess 3 years we got promotion to the Premier League. And without that experience, I guess what happened a lot in those days was the team that got promoted got relegated the next year. And that's what happened. I think we only won 1 game in the Premiership that 4th year. But after that, I had the opportunity to come to Cardiff as the owner of the Peterborough club, built the new rink down in Cardiff, and asked me to come down to start it off, so I jumped at the chance.
So it was what Sports Nationwide were building the rink, and if I remember correctly, you were sort of helping out in Peterborough, doing a little bit of the business side as well. And
yeah, I was kind of more of just a player, and I was on the ice rink management sort of staff, so I kind of knew how things were working with the arena side of things, but I was more just a player in Peterborough, but I could also, with those 4 years experience in Peterborough, it gave me some ideas of what I would like to see happen with the hockey club if I was into the management side and had that opportunity here.
So I guess it's the summer or early autumn of 1986.
Yeah.
You're coming to another country again. You're coming to Wales. You're coming to a place where the rink hasn't even been built yet.
Yeah.
What were those first impressions?
The first impression coming to Cardiff, I loved it. I realized it was obviously its own country within a country. I liked that idea. I know that it was a sports-oriented sort of city, and I really believe that hockey would sell here. It would be a hit. We just needed the facility, and obviously we had that with Wales National Ice Rink. And yeah, I was really glad to have that opportunity, and I was glad I made the move.
So you were building everything from scratch. You know, you had to name the team. I guess I remember correctly, you chose the colours from the Welsh flag, and obviously the colours of the New Jersey Devils. So I assume that was
exactly
the name. And
yeah, we were kind of making sure. I wanted those colours. They were unique at this time. I wanted to have a double C as a name, Cardiff something. Started with a C. And I think devil in Welsh is Cuthrell. And then I'm not sure if you pluralize it, it's Cathrillian or something. And somebody said, oh no, you can't have that. That's really bad. And I go, well, how bad is the devil? We'll just go with the Cardiff Devils.
We'll go with the Devils,
We'll go with the Cardiff Devils. And I'm so glad that we had those colors
Yeah.
and the name, and and obviously it's stuck for this long.
It's stuck for 30 odd years. But that first summer building that team, obviously yourself, you brought in Perry Olivier, you brought in Bill Taylor.
Yeah.
But then it was just, I guess, local boys, guys around the Bristol and Oxford area, just scratching around trying to get a team together.
Yeah, it was, and I think the selling sort of part of that in building a team was what we were trying to create, what the agenda was, and I tried to get players, A, that had experience, and B, that wanted to be a part of that, and maybe had the opportunity with the Cardiff Devils that they didn't have at their existing clubs, just for a number of reasons. Maybe it was a budget, maybe it was a facility, that sort of thing, but they loved the game.
Yep.
And they wanted to be a part of it, and they bought in, and they helped us get up over that first sort of hurdle of getting out of the second division, and then obviously a couple of years getting out of the second division, and then straight into the Premier. And
that first year, though, when starting off, the rink wasn't ready yet, and I remember a friendly game at Oxford. My first ever Devils game as a 4-year-old was in Bristol, in the old rink there against the Bristol Phantoms. So we're going back. That do I remember correctly? You were driving the minibus around at the time. You were doing everything.
I was actually driving the bus. It was like a I don't know, 15, 20-seat bus, van.
Yeah.
And I drove the bus down to Oxford, and okay, boys, bus leaves at and no, it was cool. I had to do it, and we had to actually train away for the first couple of months in Bristol, Swindon. I guess Swindon was there at the time, or it might have been Slough.
Yeah.
But we had to travel quite a bit for practice, and everybody was there for practice, involved, and loved it. It was great.
So some great names in that team, people like Paul Farmer, Perry Olivier, Mike Calland in nets, so on and so forth. And opening nights, that the reason we're going to be in Ice Arena, Wales on Wednesday night against the Nottingham Panthers. That opening night against the Ashfield Islanders, they didn't have a home rink. They were a bit lambs to the slaughter, but I remember you walked out of that dressing room and thought you were expecting maybe a couple of hundred, and every seat was taken.
Yeah, I remember our first game in Peterborough. We had 300 people.
Yeah.
And so I was looking, I thought maybe if we can get over 500, that'd be a good start. And we had over 2,500. It was amazing, and it was like, okay, the team that we're playing really doesn't match up, but hey, let's give them some goals and entertainment, and the fans loved it, and it was great.
You scored a couple of goals that night, and of course the fans got to see the first time you shooting the scoreboard. We've got to ask, where did that come from?
I saw that once in a buddy of mine played Junior A for I guess it was Brantford Alexanders, and went down and watched him play. And he was my line mate in minor hockey, and he went on to have a professional career in North America. But one guy on his team, I saw, and he didn't score that much, this guy. He was more of an enforcer. But when he scored, he shot the clock. And I thought, and he put it in his holster. And I go, that's kind of cool. Right? And I thought, well, that's pretty cocky. It's maybe a little bit too far, maybe a little disrespect for the game or whatever. But, you're excited when you score. And I tried to do that when it was an important or a big goal. And at the same time, I was pretty pumped.
Absolutely.
And so, I got that from there, and I guess it stuck with me. And a lot of people remember sort of that image after I'd score a big goal.
Absolutely. Now, the end of that first season, the Devils had won the southern section of the old Division 2, and of course it was the playoff weekend at Wales National Ice Rink. Grimsby Buffalo, Aviemore Blackhawks, I think Stratton were the other team. I'm trying to remember.
So. Yeah.
Couple of incidents. Obviously, the bench clearance against Grimsby when you had about 13 guys compared to their 20, and then the final against Aviemore where it was a devastating 10-9 defeat. Yeah,
I guess we kind of took them a little lightly, but they were a good team for that level, and obviously they had a lot of good local players that probably had never had that much opportunity to play on that sort of stage. And they came out, and I think they jumped out 6-1 or something early, and we clawed our way back, and we were just a little, I guess, didn't have enough time to make up that, but we lost, I think, 10-9.
10-9.
And and luckily the the league said, okay, you guys are still good enough for Division 1.
Did you know at that stage, or after that cup final, were you devastated?
No, I was devastated. I thought we were done. We had to go through the promotion thing again, and we pretty much walked it. I think the league obviously made the right decision.
Yeah.
They saw that we had the right ingredients for at least to be in Division 1.
Yeah.
And we were very appreciative of that opportunity, and I think, like I said, they made the right decision because we handled ourselves quite well in that first year in Division 1.
Absolutely. It was a little bit of a building year, 87, 88, but of course you retained Perry Olivier, you brought in a few more Brits, Jeff Smith in net, and of course Shannon Hope came and joined the Devils. What did you see in Shannon in Peterborough which you thought would make him a good fit for Cardiff?
Well, I saw a good, strong defenseman that saw the play develop and could make adjustments as and when the game needed it. You know, he could react really well to the game situation, and he was really good in the dressing room. So, and a strong player. So, I saw that while I was in Peterborough, and I brought him back, and obviously he stayed here a number of years to play at a much higher level and be competitive all those years.
Absolutely, a great signing for the Devils. You know, it was a building that year, but maybe the most memorable event. You won your first trophy, the Autumn Trophy against the Trafford Metros, and the forming of a pretty heated rivalry against the Telford Tigers, including the famous the walk-off game when Brian Canowisha took you guys off the ice. That was pretty tense.
Yeah, I guess that one they had some big scores. I guess Salmon and Conway. You know, and Chuck was always he was a force. But there were a couple incidents in that game where you know, in today's game, obviously with the replay and that they would see what happened with a couple of our players with the stick incidences in the face, and it's going to happen. But we just felt that we weren't getting any protection from the refs, and so we walked off. And I guess the league wanted to fine us and all this sort of stuff, but we had a good legal support with Russell Jenkins.
Absolutely.
And Russell helped us out in that. And I guess the BIH at the time were going, oh no, Cardiff Devils are not only doing this, now they got this legal guy here. So it was good times. And, I think we were sort of a little bit of a thorn in their side because it was the way they always wanted to do it. And go, well, you can't do it. This is the way it's going to be. This is the way it's going to have to be. And that was pretty cool to be a part of.
Absolutely. So we move on to the summer of 1988, and this is one I want to pin you down on a little bit. You decide not to retain Perry Olivier, who'd been great for 2 years, and you brought in Steve Moria and the Coopers. It led to the claim, particularly by Mr. Smith in Durham, of checkbook hockey. How did those signings come about, and was checkbook hockey a fair term in your book?
Well, I think if you go to the last question first, I think the owners, and rightly so, if they were able to, would exploit the players. For so many years it was like, okay, no, this is what you're getting as a player, and we've got over 3,000 people coming into our games, and this is what you're gonna get, and you're gonna like it. And they had no other options, and we were a really good option. We're saying, well, actually, our owners were supportive. We're saying, well, this is our budget. This is if we spend this and we do well, usually that will bring in more revenue because the fans will come. It's a pretty, it's not guaranteed, but that's the formula I went with, and the owners were supporting me in that. So we offered players we believe they were worth. And I think pretty much across the board, the imports were getting around the same amount for the top clubs. We could compete with that. So it wasn't that we were giving Steve Moria or any other imports more money. It was that we were looking after the British players. And with only 3 imports at the time, that wasn't even when there was I don't even think reclassified.
No, not yet, no.
That the British players were more important. So you got to go out and get the best. And there was 3 of them, arguably, who were the best. It was Stephen and Ian Cooper and Tony Hand.
You never quite got hand.
I tried after, but
Yeah.
I just couldn't get them. I did, and actually, initially I just went for Stephen and
Yes.
Ian.
Yeah.
And then that 1 year after they went, I tried to get Tony, but
Wasn't quite.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
No. But I thought it was very important to establish the fact that these British players mean so much to us.
Yeah.
Right? With the Coopers on a power play or penalty kill, to have that quality of British player, it was like having more imports on the ice.
Absolutely. So that season in the First Division, you had yourself with Steve Murray and Ian Cooper on the first line, with Hope and Stephen Cooper on the back end, and of course the young sung heroes like Brian Dixon, Robbie Morris, and Brian Wilkie on the second line. You got through the season pretty well. You retained the Autumn Trophy. You lost a couple of games to Lee Valley and Swindon, I remember, and we'll come to him a bit later. But that game in Lee Valley, a certain Doug McEwen put 9 goals past the Devils that night.
Yeah, and we lost. He got 2 assists as well, and and we lost 11-9, and we just couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
And we're going, okay, we know this guy's good. Okay, but no, he just skated through us all, and he loved it, and he did it with. It looked like so. Yeah. It was effortlessly.
Yeah.
It was amazing, and I said, okay, all right, enough of that. All right, you're starting to bug me. You're going to be on our team.
You clinched the First Division title in Telford that year. Medway Bears were the big rivals that year. I remember there was one game when Jeff Smith was a little late turning up and caused you a few butterflies.
Yes, he did. He said it was on teletext.
Yeah.
I think it was the thing back then where he said, well, it said it's at 6:30, and I guess the game was at 5:15.
Yes.
And we were down 4-1 after the first, and we were able to come back and win that. That was a huge game for us, because both us and Medway were pretty much head-to-head throughout the season, so those games against each other were so important.
And then in the promotion relegation playoffs, it was the Streatham Redskins. And after a 12-1 win at the Wales National Ice Rink, I guess you guys went to London knowing that the dream of getting to the Premier Division was pretty much there. It
was so good. It was such a relief, because I guess in years past that wouldn't have happened. The team that, I guess they started that playoff because the team that just got up got relegated down. They said, so instead of doing that, let's just have a playoff to see if that team is good enough to go up.
Yeah, and the Devils certainly were. So summer of 89-90, and leading on to that season, which I must admit out of 30 years is my favourite season as a Cardiff Devil, the 500-1 season, the double winning season. Of course, we just referenced Doug McEwen a moment ago, but he wasn't initially coming in. He wasn't. You were reclassified. The Devils had another import slot, and was it Paul Castron you were signed and never quite made it?
We're going to sign Paul Castron. Did sign him.
Yeah.
And he must have had another opportunity in North America, didn't make it over. And he's, I think, the scout now of one of the NHL teams. He's one of the head scouts. So he's done a great career decision back then. And but that opened the opportunity for us to get Doug.
Now, I remember opening weekend, and you've referenced this before, you guys had to go up to Scotland, and I think you drew sort of 3-3 with Ayr on the Saturday night, and then you beat Murrayfield on the Sunday, and no one went to Murrayfield and won. At that point, did you sort of think we can do something here?
Yeah, I did. I thought with the team that we had, like Steve Murray was like already an established Premier League player, and I saw him, I scouted him the year before, and I said, now that guy is amazing. We had good British players, good depth, and yeah, that was the weekend that we said, okay, we're here for good.
Yeah, it was a pretty exciting season. I remember early on was the Durham Norwich Union Cup games, the first time you'd ever gone against the Big Blue Machine, and up at the Riverside Rink, that got a bit feisty, 12-4, and someone took a bit of dislike to you, and
it was something that you knew that was going to happen, because we were kind of, like you say, the checkbook hockey team. We were against the establishment, that sort of thing, which really wasn't the case, but it was from their perspective, right? Because they just couldn't have it their way anymore. And it was a good feeling to go up there and win in places where teams would never win.
Yes.
Yeah, really good.
And that season was pretty magical. You clinched the league trophy against your old side, the Peterborough Pirates, and I guess you couldn't believe it. Before the playoffs even started, you were league champions.
Yeah, it was awesome. Really, really great feeling, and to do it in such a short time, like 4 years, and move up the division. There was only 1 year, I think, there that we didn't gain promotion, and to gain promotion right off the bat, and then win the league, and obviously, what's next?
What's next? I guess Wembley 1990 deserves a segment all on its own. That was pretty magical. You had the Friday night semi-final, the first ever Friday night where you beat 5-1, if I remember.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the team you'd had rivalry with all season, the Murrayfield Racers, in just what was probably still maybe the best game in British ice hockey.
I think it was, in a sense that, we were down by 3 goals. There was an incident during the game where I guess the glass came out.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to go back to the dressing room, and there wasn't too much anybody said, but it was something for us to all sort of regroup individually and collectively. And I remember Stephen Cooper said something.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what it was, but it would have been something like, "No, guys, we can do this."
Yeah.
And then once we get back, he scores a goal or something, and we were going, "Okay, Steve, we can do this. All right, let's go." So we had those leaders that just came up when they needed to be, and they weren't asked to do it. They just said, "Oh, I got this," in a certain way. And if it wasn't Stephen Cooper, it would be Steve Moria or Ian Cooper or another import or a big save by Smitty, or and it was just amazing to then from that go into overtime. And I think at the time there was World Billiards.
The snooker was on,
The snooker was on, and they were on BBC One or whatever, and they were going to cut to the snooker because that was like the semifinals of the World Championship. And they're going, "No, we're staying with the hockey."
Yeah.
And I just thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
For them to go, this is exciting, snooker. Okay,
That was you guys selling the game.
I know, it was amazing. And that was more important, I think, for the game than anything. But the icing on the cake was that we won. It was amazing.
Absolutely. Well, just before we finish part 1 of the interview, if I can finish on those penalty shots, and I remember you saying specifically it was the penalty shot, the shootout that went on for forever. It was 24 penalty shots in the end, and it sticks in my mind that you said you had 2 moves. You had 2 moves you could go to, and you were confident you would score.
Yeah.
You came out for that third shot.
I had nothing left. He knows what I'm going to do. I could never do the deke and 5-hole. Never could. I'd always like the top shelf or deke and straight up top, and I did them both. And then I don't know what I did the third. I was lost. So I scored on my first 2, and I didn't score on my third. And that's when, obviously, after the first round, it was sudden death.
Yeah.
And I guess Dougie scored the last one.
Dougie scored the last one, and then Tony Hand, the best player Britain has ever produced. I guess he just kind of froze that day.
He did, and Tony was like a lot like Gretzky, where he could see the ice and see the play before it was developing, and he was a great passer. Mm-hmm. He wasn't that great on breakaways. He was good, but I guess he did. He just froze a little bit, and I recently watched that where he kind of shot on the short side where Jeff was and just hit his pad, and Jeff came up with a good save.
How did it feel, not just, forget about the other players, forget about for the club for a second, how did it feel for you? When he missed that, you were double champions, it had been 4 years, you'd built this club, and all of a sudden you were sitting top of British ice hockey. How did you feel?
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was an amazing feeling. To accomplish that with that group and with the fans, it was just something that I'll cherish, for the rest of my life.
Well, I think that's a good enough place to leave it for part 1. Stick with us, come and see us again on IceTime.TV, and we'll catch up with John for some more memories.